My name's Tommy Creeper. I sing in a band called The Rap, and we've just released our third album called Into the Arms of Oblivion.
Fantastic, mate. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
My pleasure. So, as you say, The Rat released your third album, Into the Arms of Oblivion, last week on May the 30th, mate. Like, I know it hasn't been that long, but how's the early reception
Yeah.
been?
Oh, it's been good. It's a whole new world navigating the internet and
Isn't
Spotify and
it?
things like this. So yeah, it's been going great so far, and yeah, all the listens and all the views and all that stuff been sort of been going good. Yeah, yeah. It's been
Yeah,
going good.
nice. Nice. Now, can you dive into it a bit deeper musically for us and tell us what you're going for with this one?
I think with this one too, I think all the previous albums, and if you have listened to all our stuff, they're all very different. So I really try and when I want to write a new album, I really put effort into doing something different. So really, in this one, we sort of just leaned into trying to keep it simple, and challenge ourselves to write it around melody, write it around being catchy, and keeping it simple. But that's simple is probably not the right word. It's still pretty hard to write something that's maybe technically not so crazy, but still have all the parts and still have it sound like us. So that's where we leaned into in this one. The backup, the melodies, and keeping it catchy and simple. So that was the aim.
Yeah. And you say you like to go different, change things up on every album. So do you sit down as a band before you start the album and decide how you want it to be different, or does that sort of more come during the creative process?
I think when I first kick off, I have that in my head. I don't want to do something I've already done, and it's kind of a challenge. And I think everybody else in the band is on board. Like we do. It's interesting. I don't feel like it's interesting for us to keep spitting out the same stuff, or especially having a double bass in the band, sticking to that what's expected to come off something like that, which would be really, yeah, it's just not interesting to us. So we try and see what we can do.
And you've released a couple of singles from there. You had Nothing's Forever and Now That You're Gone. So just say
Yeah,
that's all someone's heard of the album. Is that a good example of what to expect, or is that just scratching the surface?
that's just scratching the surface. I think each song's pretty different. And that was a conscious effort too, but those were the two songs we sort of sat down and thought, well, these might grab people, as singles, to come and have a listen to the album, but certainly not indicative of the whole album. There's some different songs on there for sure.
Yeah. And the music video for Nothing's Forever features live footage from your Halloween residency at Movie World, mate. Like that looked like
That's
it was a
right.
lot of fun. Looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a different type of gig. We've done it a few times now, and we're not a band that's played in the corporate world, and it's not something that we set out to do or whatever. But we got an opportunity, and I thought it was a bit of a. At the time, I thought it was someone having a lend on me, when we get, and it was like, all right, okay, but they give us total freedom. There's no like, they just want the band. It's not like they approached us and said, hey, can you dress up, or can you play some kooky songs or something? And we wouldn't do it if that was the case. So it's total freedom on us to be ourselves. If we play original stuff, we're just being ourselves. So it's that's kind of rare for a band like us in the corporate space. So it's
Hell
pretty
yeah.
cool.
And is that a
Yeah.
long-standing thing now? Like he's doing that every year, or is it?
Well, I think they have asked us again this year, so we're going to work it out. But I kind of feel like it was just a, this thing's not going to last forever. It's just an opportunity. But because I think we stand out in that thing because we are a real band. We're not like some sort of, dance going on or whatever. So the response that we get from sticking us in front of crowds is something that they're just like, oh, well, we got to have you back. You're kind of like part of the fabric of this event now, So it's we're in that stage now where we have a good relationship with them, but because of that response, there's a lot of people there that aren't going there to see us, and maybe for some people under 18 or a lot of people they've not experienced a band like us before, like and a real band, like so we do get we get a lot of good feedback because people are just like, what the fuck is this, like you know they're not people that usually buy tickets to our shows, but we win them over because we are an authentic what you see is what you get. You know, it's not a show. This is what we do. You know. So the
Nice.
relationship continues, but who knows how long that will last? But anyway, so it's very different to a gig in a pub, you know.
Oh, I can
Um,
imagine.
yeah, but it's still fun all the way. And this is another reason why the band's been going for so long. You know, we have these experiences, and they are experiences, a life experience of, you know, through music and stuff, and it's so we take it. You know what I mean?
Why not?
Yeah,
I should
it makes
hit
it
them up
fun.
this year and I'll come down and do a review of it this year. And if you get something in print, they might keep you on a bit longer.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see how we go. So yeah, if you've not been before, it's pretty wild, you know, like to be a part of something with that much money involved, and you know, it goes all out. There's no way we could afford all those fire and you know, and fireworks and all that sort of stuff. That's out of our budget. So it's cool to even play with that sort of production, you know, like that. It's not many people that get a chance to do that too, you know.
Shit, no. Now back to the
Mm.
album. So thematically into the Arms of Oblivion, it covers areas like grief and loss. Like it's a pretty in-depth album for you in some respects. So would you
Yeah,
say overall it's an album of despair or an album of hope?
I think there's elements of both. I think there's
Mhm.
definitely elements of most. When I was writing it, I was definitely going through despair and all those things, but actually having a space to, you know, having the band and having this to put it somewhere gave an opening for new things and for rising up out of it, you know, and that's definitely what happened. Yeah, I think there's a bit of both in there.
Mhm. And you also do a cover of a Brisbane band called Bantha Fodder, mate. Like that's a bit out of left
Yeah,
field.
yeah. I thought it was a good idea to just go and give a bit of a tip of the hat to where we come from, you know, like there's so many songs, and I love that band. You know, like when we first started playing in bands, when you know, like you're underage or you just turn 18, and you're finding all these cool local bands. Well, that was one of them, you know. And I was
Mm.
like, yeah, we'd chase those guys around and became friends with them, but really loved that band. And I still think some of the songs they wrote are still, you know, they still carry over today, you know. So that was like, we put it in the set list a little. I think we did a tour somewhere, and I thought this will be fun. Let's end with this one, you know. And then it sort of just it never left. So when we went to this one, I think we yeah, this album was like, I think that's kind of cool to maybe expose people to you know, bands, local bands that was before their time, or you know, that not heard of, and gives a little insight to what we were listening to, you know. And you know, and that was the reason behind it. I think it's kind of cool, you know.
Yeah, it is cool, indeed.
And it's a
Now,
cracker song.
it is. It is. They were a good band. I remember listening to them myself. They were fucking fellas.
No, great band. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's why I got in there, you know.
Cool. Now, for those who aren't too familiar with your work, mate, like your music mixes a ton of genres. There's rock, there's punk, there's rockabilly, there's metal. You've got gothic undertones. There's so much going on there.
Yeah.
But how difficult is it to get the balance of those genres right in the creative process? Like, how do you know when you're going too far one way and not far another?
Oh, I think it's something we've like. It's not. It's not a problem for us because we just do our thing. But I think it becomes a problem when people try and explain or write or describe what we sound like. So
Mm,
we don't write that stuff. We don't write, hey, there's a rockabilly band or they're a goth band. Like, you know, we don't put a label on ourselves. But I guess we know what our influences are and they come out, you know, like. But as for it, you know, as for sitting down and saying, all right, we're gonna, you know, be industrial on this one, or we're gonna be you know, like it's just not something. Yeah, it's
no.
actually been a battle actually to just like, I mean, I think it kind of annoys you when you're a bit younger because you're just like, you know, what did you know? But now I don't give a shit, you know. People are gonna describe it however they do it, but for me, I think it's all just rock and roll. You know, we're
Mm.
just a rock and roll band, and you know, our likes and our influences will pop out, and if you can hear them, you can hear them. You know, but it's definitely not something that we sit down and sort of go, all right, well, let's be a such and such band or whatever. And we're a bit of a mixing pot. There's a lot going on, you know, like yeah. And I think we get labelled with that rockabilly thing just because of the double bass. But
Yeah, of course.
I don't actually think we use it like a traditional rockabilly band at all. You know,
Mhm.
even though we love that music and you know we played with heaps of psychobilly bands and rockabilly bands, but mate, those people don't like us because we don't sound rockabilly at all. We ruin it for them, you know. So yeah, I think the labels get put on us. We don't do it. We don't put them on ourselves.
More about the way you like to change things up on every album. So, from your
Yeah.
perspective, as someone in the band, like, how would you say your music has changed and developed from your 2012 debut, Tales of a Deadly Nightshade, into the Arms of Oblivion?
I think back then we were playing with a lot of hardcore bands. We didn't have a double bass in the band as yet, so there's things you can and can't do with those two different instruments. But I think at that time we just we were just going riff for riff. Like a song couldn't have enough riffs in it, you know. Like I
Yeah.
think we were, you know, like we could. I listen. If I listen back to that now, I reckon I could probably pull three songs out of one. You know, like there was just we just couldn't get enough riffs. You know, like every song was just we need more parts. Whereas this now it's like I think we're understanding songwriting a little bit better and understanding melodies and you know what goes into, and I think that's where we lean into that's what we're good at. We're not good at being Pantera, you know, like we're not good at that's not our lane, you know, no. And I think we were trying to do that a lot when we were younger, just riffs and riffs. And that's cool. We're young, you know, like you change and but yeah, I think for me as well, I think less risk now. I think less risk and how is this going to flow and how are we going to make people move and how are we going to you know, make people sing to it and stuff like that. Whereas before I was more just like riff. Okay, another riff. Yeah, we need more riff. Okay, yeah. You know, like just
So, have you got any shows coming up other than Halloween, which is a fair way off?
we're in the midst now of just booking a bunch of stuff, so we will be out and about to log this one off. But we're just all locking it down now at the moment. But all those press releases will go out and we'll be letting people know when it happens. But yeah, even like navigating booking shows now, you know, so many venues that are just not there anymore, and you
Mm.
know, like from the last sort of extensive tour we've done, it's actually been pretty crazy for me to actually, you know, reach out to all the people I know and all these great venues that no longer exist anymore.
Yeah, it's a
It's
shame,
crazy,
isn't it?
it's crazy.
And now, before I let you go, bro, we've got a new segment that was started since last time I spoke to you called Photo Bomb. So basically,
Okay,
I've trolled through your social media before we've had a chat,
righto,
and I've come up with a
excellent,
couple of photos I want to know a bit more about. So, what have I
excellent.
got? I got this one. Like, you guys saw a beer change or something this night, were you?
Oh, okay. I can tell you what this show was. This was our first show back after a Japan tour, and we played with Dark Cell at a place in Surface called Elsewhere, which is really not a rock and roll venue. It's more like a fucking, you know, it's a nightclub, and it was like they were adamant that we had to be out of there by 11 because all the people that want to get on the disco bickies and stuff, you know, it had to stop being the rock and roll golf club right on 11. We were just mucking around just to you know, kind of piss them off because we didn't want to go at 11. So that was that one.
And then I found this one. Like, this one looks like a bit of a wild show.
Uh, so this is Dead of Winter, one of the Dead of Winters that we played. And if you've seen us play, I think you'll know that Dino likes to hang off stuff. So this is one off. Like usually when we play, or you know what, when we play in a venue or somewhere, and you know we're all sound checking and setting up and stuff, and we're playing around with gear and that. Dino's usually walking around the room and testing out what he can hang on. That's what he's. That's what his sound check kind of usually looks like. He's scanning the room for like, okay, I can jump up there, I can jump up here, and yeah, I don't know how he's busted his knees, and I don't know, but it's not unusual for him to do stupid shit like that.
So, does it ever go on pear shaped? Does he ever look like lost grip?
I think he's kind of. I definitely think he's probably, you know, hurt his ankles or knees, but like you know, thinking about it, he's been pretty lucky actually, and he's done some pretty big jumps off some dumb stuff, and yeah, I don't know how he does it. You know, he's jumped off the top of the stack at the Tivoli. He's jumped off the stack. You remember the arena? The arena was higher. He's jumped off them, and it's, you know, when I'm looking there, I'm like, this is not going to end well. You know, like yeah, and he pops up and off he goes. But yeah, that's pretty usual for him.
Fantastic, bro. All right. Well, thanks for your time. It's a pleasure as usual. The album Into the Arms of Oblivion is out now, and it's another typical album from the Wrath. It's solid, it's tough as fuck, and it's a great album. So best of luck, brother.
Oh, thanks so much. I really appreciate your time and plugging our new music. I appreciate it a lot.